Good evening, good evening. We should be live. I'm just waiting for YouTube Studio to catch up. Show that everything's broadcasting. Yes, it is. Awesome. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to live stream number 5. 5 down, another 25 or so to go. As always, welcome from the Welsh Valleys. Welcome from Wales. What news from Wales this week? That's a good question. We've had some more local lockdowns announced. So where I live in Rhondda and Taff, we've been in lockdown since Thursday last week. Lockdown mostly means bans on meeting up with people. Doesn't affect us as we've got no family local or anything like that, but it must be hard for some other people. We're also not supposed to travel in and out of the county without good reasonable excuse, I think is the phrase they use. And today it was announced that 4 more counties in South Wales, Merthyr, Newport, Blaenau Gwent, and I think Bridgend was the 4th one, are joining us in lockdown from tomorrow. So welcome lockdown brothers and sisters. It does mean if you're coming over the bridge from the from Bristol on the M4, coming into Wales over the second Severn crossing, you can't go all that far before you're breaching the lockdown rules. So it's something to consider if you live in Bristol and you're looking to come over the bridge. But that's the main news from Wales this week. As always, whether you're watching this live or watching this on catch-up, please leave me a comment. Let us know where you're from, what brought you to these live streams, and what it is you're looking to get from them. That would be awesome. Right, let me switch cameras. There we go. Trying something new tonight. I've moved the camera. And if I open this up a bit, yes, I'm trying different lighting as well tonight as well. No idea if it makes a difference, positive or negative. Just thought I fancied a change as we're really getting into coding now. We'll see how it goes. So the camera is to the left of the screen now. It used to be up there. It's now there. But I'm still looking at the screen a lot for my slides. I've got to get used to staring into the camera. We'll get the hang of it. So what's on tonight's schedule? Let's go back to the slides. So tonight's schedule, we've got 2 tasks I want to do. Last week we generated the skeleton app and the commands. And what I want to do tonight is get that into Git. If you remember last week I was deferring the decision on where I'm going to put this code, which Git repository. Whether to commit it to the existing repository or whether to create a brand new one and put it in there. I've made that decision and I'll reveal that shortly. The second topic for tonight is I want to get the skeleton app we generated last week. I want to get all the commands falling back to the existing shell scripts. That way we can start to use the skeleton app in anger. And as we start to move functionality that's currently in the shell scripts, as we start to move that into the skeleton app, it should be a relatively seamless transition. So each week we chip away at it, and then by the end, all the shell script will be finished with, and it will just be the Golang left. So tonight I want to get that underway. Now, I reckon tonight I'm going to be streaming for about 2.5 hours, I think, give or take. I think that's what I'm going to do. So that will take us up to 9:45 UK time. Something like that. So, I don't have a slide for this. Let's change cameras again. I really should. Please remember, leave a comment, leave a like, hit the thumbs up sign, hit the bell, all the stuff. I'm no good at telling this. You'll do it if you want to, but it helps me if you do. Alright. Okay, I think we might as well get straight into it. I should probably move the camera switch to nearer my left hand. I'm not at all left-handed. Oh dear. Tonight's drink of choice is Lemsip. Those of you not in the UK, not familiar with Lemsip, it's a lemon-flavoured drink it's got some active ingredients, notably paracetamol. That's for colds and things. Despite lockdown or social distancing, masks, and all the hand washing and everything we do all the time, still come down with a head cold this week. Go figure. It's not even cold yet. It's been glorious weather. Alright then, let's get into some coding. There we go. Now, another thing I forgot to mention. In order to make the camera to be the side of the monitor, I have actually moved everything else around as well, including the microphone. So if the audio levels aren't quite right, if it's too loud because I've moved the mic too close, or it's just not pointed right where I am, do let me know and I'll adjust it. I'm afraid I've got no way to monitor that while I'm shooting live. So if the audio is not quite right, please do let me know. Right then, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to start. I can never remember the key press to make that large. One of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to learn more command line shortcuts for tools to speed up my work process. So instead of moving the mouse and actually clicking the maximize button, I'm trying to remember that what the keyboard shortcut is for that. I'm getting there. So what have we got? CD, live streams, Hubflow, Golang. Here we go. Right. Now, last week we generated the new code in the Gitflow folder. If I go in here, this is the code we generated last week, and it also has the requirements in that we've been slowly working on. They're not complete yet, by the way. I'm afraid the weekend was taken up with hunting for a new car, which is quite an urgent purchase for me. So requirements capturing, I'm going to have to catch up on that during the week again. And over here, if we go up a folder, what's currently called Gitflow old is the original shell script code. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to put the Gitflow code, the new Golang code, into the existing repo. And the reason for that, let's see if I can get Chrome to do this. If I search for Gitflow, yes, there we go. Google has decided to take the existing repository and its documentation and make it one of their featured snippets. So if you search for Gitflow on Google, you get the existing repo back. If I click through, I'll open it in a new tab for a moment. If I click through, this is the documentation that's generated for the existing repo. So it seems to make sense to me that we should continue to contribute to that repo, at least for now. Now it has to be said, I don't work for DataSift anymore. I haven't in a long time, although I still have maintainer access to the repository. That's a gift. That's not under my control, it's not under my ownership, and it could always be withdrawn. So that's something for us to keep in mind. I don't think DataSift will. I don't think they've got any reason to. But it's a consideration. Yeah. Right. So that's my decision. Now, how am I going to do this? Let's go into live streams, Hubflow, Golang, Gitflow. So what we need to do is basically move Gitflow. Let me just double check I can do this. Yes, I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the Gitflow folder we've been working on into Gitflow old. This will make sense in a moment, I assure you. There we go. And then we rename Gitflow old to be Gitflow because it is the repo. There we go. And now, that's right, device is giving me notifications. And now what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is a aha, it's not checked out properly. So one moment with me. I'm having one of those days. There we go. So what I'm doing is, I'd cloned this anonymously. So I'd cloned it via the HTTPS protocol. Now, maybe things have changed, but certainly in the old days, that was read-only. You couldn't actually write back to that location. And we're going to be committing and pushing code. So what I've done here, is I've made sure that I can now push to that. There's one other thing I want to do, and I can't remember exactly the environment variable, so bear with me a moment. I'm going to change my prompt. Dot files bash, and it is prompt options. Right then. So what I've done with my path what I've done with my fancy prompt here that I've just highlighted on the screen for you is I can customize the elements in it just by changing an environment variable. Let's see what it's set to. Right, so I believe, I'm trying to remember because it's about a month since I created this. I think that's what I need. Just grab that. I go over here and paste it. There we go. Right, almost. I want the new line, then I want this. Right, that's better. So what I've done with the prompt options, because although I'm going to use VS Code for writing code, I do all my commits, etc. outside of VS Code at the moment. I prefer to do it from the command line. And what I've done here is N stands for new line, so I always make sure there's a blank line between the output of the previous command and my prompt, just to break it up a bit. So hopefully for these kind of live streams and demos, it's easier to see what I'm doing on the command line. That's my hope. And then the G that I've added is G for Git, and that's brought in telling me which branch I'm on, which is the develop branch at the minute, which is where I want to be. But right then, we're gonna do all this work in a feature branch. It's not ideal. We really should be. Problem is this is going to be a long-lived feature branch, which is exactly the opposite of what I preach. Ideally, you want feature branches to be short-lived. So there's something to be considered there. But at the minute, I think what the right thing to do is keep this code away from develop in case I need to do more work on the shell scripts. There are open issues that we may well want to fix as we're working on this. And Also, I'm not sure at the minute I've got the work on the new Golang code broken up well enough to make lots of feature branches. We'll see. Maybe I have. We'll see. We'll call it Golang skeleton. Right. Wow, that's a lot of feature branches upstream I need to go and delete. I have some tidying up to do. But anyway. Right then. Okay, so I'm just reading this message here. I've added a Git repository inside my current repository. Aha. Let's do something about that. Right then. And we need to move the requirements and package star and temp double dot. Just doing some tidying up. Right then. Move the node modules up one. There we go. This is better. So I'm tidying up at the minute. And what I've done is let me, rather than point at the screen where you can't see, let me highlight. Why does it say file? That should be a folder. Let's unstage it. And hopefully this time I'll add it as a folder. Today's going well. Right then. Oh, we've got another Git repo in here. Why is there another Git repo in there? I have no idea what happened there. Right then. I'm going to say third time's a charm. Let's see. Ray! It's let me add it. Okay. The lesson from this, folks, is don't mess about kicking the can down the road about where you're going to commit your code. Either start a Git repo or pick an existing one and just get on with it and get it committed. Otherwise you end up with a bit of a tidying up job like I've just had to do. And do we have a change log? We don't. So let's create that. So I have a little formula I like to use. So some blurb to explain what's going on would be good. So we're going to say we're explaining the existing shell scripts with portable Golang. And then the new item I'm adding is adding the skeleton Golang code. There we go. So add the change log. Do I need to? Let's look at what's here. Aha. Right. Actually, let me scroll that back up. So what I'm doing is before I commit anything, I'm checking what's staged. As I'm still cleaning things up, there's a license file and a git ignore file that shouldn't be there. Let's unstage those. Just tidying up. Now let's have another look. There's another file I need to remove. And that's the compile Gitflow binary. Let's get rid of that. Right. So we've got the changelog, we've got a lot of Go files, which is fine. They've still got all the boilerplate code in from last week. Perfectly happy with that. Yeah. We've got the mod and the sum file. We're good. Right. So now we update this. Do we have a Debian folder? No, we don't. That's interesting. It's many years since I've looked inside this file, and it looks like it's got a lot of stuff in here that we no longer use. I'm not going to touch that today. I just want to make sure the Gitflow binary I'm compiling doesn't get committed. And I can prove that's the case by if I go into the Gitflow folder, go build it. We have a Gitflow file. So I've just compiled that. But if I do a git status, it doesn't show up as a file waiting to be committed. Perfect. Right, so we added a skeleton Golang app. Our feature branch is underway. Fantastic. All right then, move that out of the way. I also have a cold drink here to get me through the night. I think we're now ready to run up VS Code. Okay, so there's been a... Yes, please ignore node modules. It is the right thing to do, and we have two windows open, so... Right, I'm going to close... So what's happened here, if you look at the title bar at the bottom, VS Code's done its thing of reopening the last window I had open, as well as the window I've asked it to open. That's what's happened. So I'm going to close the window we used to have open. We don't need it anymore. And now what we've got here, and hopefully you can see that on the screen. Let me just bring the window up so I can see what I'm broadcasting. There we go, that's better. Right. So I'm looking down here at my laptop rather than up here at the screen. I'm just going to move me a little bit. There we go. Right, so that means that the status bar down here is all available. Now, first thing I'm going to do is check my tools. And it says there's a Go update available. Yes, please update Go. Open the external site. So it wants me to download for Linux. So I'm going to wait a moment. I'm not going to download that straight away because... Oh, let me fix that as well because that would be annoying. Right then. Let me just see whether or not I'm actually already pulling in from anywhere. So what I'm doing here is I've gone to... I'm on Linux. I'm on Ubuntu Linux. And I have gone to the list of third-party sites I download code from just to see if Golang is on there. It isn't. So that's okay. Because I don't want to download Go if a simple package update via the operating system would go and get it for me. So let's go grab Go 15. That's coming down. That's going to take a short amount of time. Yeah. So once it's downloaded, we're going to explode that into user local. Let's copy that command, go to my terminal, paste it, and I'm going to have to run that as root. And it's in my fat downloads folder. I'm trying to remember. Right, that's done. Good. Wasn't sure if I had root access on this demos account that I use. So that's done. So if we open a Go file now, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Oh. So Visual Studio on Visual Studio Code, VS Code. On the left hand side, the Gitflow folder now contains our Go stuff, and we can see here that the Go binary is grayed out. That's exactly what we want. That means we're not going to accidentally commit it. So let's open main.go. Does that trigger? Nothing there. Does it trigger anything here? No, I don't. I want you to open that. Go tools. Here we go. They're over here. Seems to be different locations on the bar for different things. So even though I've installed Go 1.15, it won't have picked that up. So I'm going to close VS Code for the moment. Let's just go back to the install instructions, make sure I've not messed anything. I don't think I have. So if I do Go version now. Right, so export path equals /user local Go bin. Right, I should do that. And now if I do Go version, it should be on 1.15. And then if I open up VS Code, it should notice that Go has changed. And it gives me the option to update the tools. You can't watch for changes in this large workspace. Well, oh, that's on me. One moment. I have opened it in the wrong place. Too many tabs open already. Here we are. Should be in this tab. That's better. Update the tools, please. Yeah, I wish it was a little slick, and I'm not sure why Ubuntu isn't keeping up to date with Go. It's not the world's best for keeping up to date with any programming language, to be honest. But hey, we got there. We got there. Now we have some code. So if we go into our commands that we've generated, we've got all our different features. You're telling me a new version of Go is there, even though I've already switched to Go 15.2. Right. Excuse the sigh. It's a little annoying that VS Code hasn't picked up the fact that Go 1.15 is now in my path. So I'm just going to sort that out. Close VS Code again. And the reason it's not picked it up is, of course, I switched tabs, didn't I? And therefore, because changes to a change to a path only affects the shell and its child processors. These tabs are different processors. Therefore, I need to make the change in each tab in order for the change to take effect. So let's fire that back up. Yes, please update the tools again. We'll get there. The main reason I'm upgrading to Go 1.15, I'm not aware of any language features that will make a difference to what I'm planning to do. There may be some. I haven't kept up to date with the latest Go release features. But I am hoping that the tools that the editor uses for IntelliSense are a little bit better if we use the latest version of Go. Don't know. But that's my thinking. So the plan tonight is to make all of these commands down the left hand side, of which we have it's going to tell me how many I've selected, not helpfully. All of these files here all need to call out to the shell scripts. That's what we want them to do. Now to do that, we're going to use Scriptish. And the other thing we're going to do with that, we're going to replace all these defaults that were there when the code was generated. We're going to replace those with the actual text from the existing Hubflow, and we're going to add support for the flags. Can we do all that tonight? I'm not so sure, but we're going to give it a go. Yeah, we're going to give it a go. And to be honest, we might as well just start from the top and work down. So with that in mind, I'm going to Alt-Tab to my terminal. I'm going to rearrange them as the tabs order as well. Right. So left tab is where I'm going to do my git commits. Middle tab is for any scratch commands that I'm about to run right now. And the right tab is a spare in case I need to do anything else. So if we do, excuse me, git HF on its own, it gives us a list of subcommands. And this is the first thing we want to do. On its own, we want this help to come up. So that's the very first thing we're going to do. For that, we need to go and find and edit the root command. Here we go. So here's the root command. So we've got a short description and a long description. So we don't seem to have much there. Although we say Gitflow, we actually want to say git HF subcommand. I believe that's what we want to do. I'm going to build it and see, make sure that works. Here we go. Go build dot. And if we do Gitflow, right. So that build I've just done has not changed the output here. I have a nasty suspicion, which we're going to get to the bottom of, that Cobra does actually, you know, we're writing strings here. We've got a nasty feeling they actually mean something to Cobra, because it's not printing that string out, which would be annoying. So let's put a long description in. Okay, so Gitflow extension. I'm just going to tab back to here and have another look at this. There's nothing useful there. All commands you need to use the Gitflow, right. Let's put word wrap on. So I hit Alt Z though. I'm on Linux. I'm not sure the shortcut is on Os X at the moment. I hit Alt Z, which is the same as going View, toggle word wrap. And interestingly, it's not ticked. View, toggle word wrap, view. Oh, it doesn't have a tick against it. I swear that used to. You'd think it would, wouldn't you, to show whether or not word wrap's on or off. Right, so we've changed that. We've changed that text. I am going to do a build. I'm going to see what we get. Thank you, Rob. So Rob's just posted a comment in chat saying we call it macOS nowadays. I've only been using it since 2006. I guess I can't say I've been using it since the old days. 2006 was when it stopped being niche and started being useful. There's a controversial opinion for tonight. Right then. Let's build it. Let's run it. Okay. So the Gitflow extension, we get that. But usage, that's annoying. There's another reason I don't agree with what Cobra's done here. First of all, I've given it a string and it's not output that entire string. So that means it's actually doing something to that input. Whether it's parsing it or simply splitting it by word and truncating it, it's doing something, and it really shouldn't be. But secondly, in the CLI world, square brackets means things are optional. And angular brackets, which is what I put down here in the use string, means they're not optional. So this is something where I don't agree with what Cobra's outputting, because it's incorrect, and it's always been this way as far as I'm aware. I think it's, I don't think I've ever seen a version of Cobra that didn't behave this way, but I do wish it was accurate. Let's set something for the short extension. I'm not sure what you do to make this appear. So, short description. I'm just going to call it the Gitflow branching model extension. There we go. Now, right, scrolling down here, it says it supports a config file. Nope, we don't want a config file. And it's got an example of okay, I'm going to share that, Rob. Right, and so Rob Allen says he's noticed the square brackets versus angular brackets thing in many CLI tools written by people who didn't start with CLI back in the old days, and it irritates him too. And then he's posted another comment about tools written in Node. That's a topic for another day. I'm not getting into that today. But when I start doing live streams on my TypeScript programming, which I am going to do certainly once this is done, and maybe sooner, yeah, we can have that discussion then. Anyway. Excuse me. Back to fighting Cobra. I'm going to go and look at the instructions for Cobra again. Let's close that down. Let's see if the docs here give me anything useful. Oh. So I'm just skimming this at the minute. One thing I have to say is I have zero appetite for replacing Cobra with my own command line framework. I don't have one for Go. I have one for PHP that does an excellent job of emulating Unix. It's a little dated in its interface. I need to take that logic and rewrite it, really, and bring it into the 21st century, you could argue. But for Golang, I have nothing like that, and that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. What I'm going to do is work with Cobra as best we can rather than replace it. Now, if anyone has a command line package they use that is more accurate than Cobra, I am all ears. I'm definitely all ears. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. So I'm just scrolling down to see if there's anything we get. Okay, and Rob's just said he's decided to live with Cobra's quirks too because it's not important enough for him. For me, it is important, but it's more important that I get this code ported over so it's into Golang so I can share it with more people and it's easier to maintain. And if that means living with Cobra for now until there's an alternative to be found, so be it. See, I can't see anything here in the code with Cobra saying that they parse the use flag at all. Can't see anything about it. Now, documentation's difficult to write. Christ knows I've written enough bad documentation over the years. So that's not the thing I mean. And one of the nice things about working with open source, which is what I'm going to do in a moment, let me just go back up to the table of contents. So we've got to use his message. Let me just check this. Yeah, there's no documentation on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the source code and see if there's anything obvious in here just to tell me what it's doing. And I'm guessing here about where it uses it. So project's interesting because that's something I've not worked with, a project structure. So this is the generator, I'm going to guess. So the question is Cobra actually pulling in child? Nope. Home deer, Cobra, Viper. That's it. So there's nothing there. So somewhere under here, TPL should be template. Yeah, this just be templates. So I am just wondering where the source code is for the command structure so we can find it and see how they use it. But these templates might actually have the answer thinking about it. But they're the templates for generating. I've never looked through the Cobra code before. And this is something I encourage you to do if you're working with open source. So I got distracted because there's a big yellow warning open on YouTube at the minute saying it's not able to do smooth streaming. Don't know what that's about. My stream still seems to be live, so I'm going to ignore it for the moment. Right. But these are just the templates used by the generator. So are there any other packages in here? I don't think there are. Ah, here we go. I'm looking in the subfolder, whereas most of the code's in the root folder. Okay, and Rob's just left a comment saying the video looks fine to him from there. I'm guessing the audio's fine as well. I don't know if you joined at the start. I've moved things around a bit to give a different camera angle, and part of that meant moving the microphone. Yeah, so Rob's actually playing Mario 64. Oh dear. Don't change. Don't ever change. Shell completions. Custom completions. So let's have a look at the command. Rob says the sound's all good. Thank you. Right then, so what's going on here then? So this is interesting. So by digging into the Cobra source code, we've got more documentation, which I've just highlighted here. So square brackets identifies an optional argument. Arguments without brackets are required. In this days of subcommands where you've put the name of a subcommand in, not comfortable with that. Triple dot says you can specify multiple values for the previous argument. Pipes for mutually exclusive information, that's fair. And braces, mutually exclusive. Don't know off the top of my head whether I've seen that in regular use. But it looks like it's not parsing the use string in order to actually work out the list of flags, is it? Even though you tell it what the list of flags are. So that's list of valid args. You can say whether something's deprecated. You can hide a command in the list of available commands. That's kind of cool. There's an annotations feature, which I'm not familiar with. And each command can have its own version number. And this is worth commenting on. If you put a version, it says, look at me. The comment says here, if you put a string in there and it doesn't start with a V, it's going to add one. That's policy. That's, in programming terms, we call that policy. We call that decision making. And libraries should not define policy. This is one of the things I struggle with this idea of opinionated frameworks and opinionated libraries. Is it's making a decision for me that I can't override. An opinionate is okay if I can change the behavior to get what I want. But if it's something like this, where it goes, oh, if you don't do this, well, I'm going to do it for you. It's like, well, hang on. What if I don't want that? For example, if I was writing an application that was had some involvement with the NPN packages, Node.js packages, you don't stick V's in those. Node doesn't really like them, for example. So this is an example of policy. It does not belong in libraries. It really doesn't. Please don't write your libraries this way, kids. Lots of functions to run. We can tell it to ignore errors. That's interesting. We can tell it not to put the usage out when something goes wrong. That's interesting. That kind of would be nice, I think. Ooh, if this is true. Now this has been worth digging into Cobra for tonight. Disable flag parsing. If we set that to true, all the command line switches that someone uses to call our command will just be passed to the commander's arguments. We need that because that's how we're going to call out to the shell scripts. So for tonight, we don't need to actually define all the flags that we're going to implement and support. Excuse me. We can actually pass that straight through to the shell script. Bingo. That has saved us hours of work. Disable autogen tag. I'm not worried about that. Disable flags in use line. Doesn't affect us tonight because we're just going to pass those through. Disable suggestions. Disables the suggestions based on the Liebenstein distance. That's worth having. So we're not going to mess about with that. We're going to leave that alone. Right, reverse children. Pass flags on all parents before executing child command. I guess that's how you do global flags versus command specific flags. So that's interesting. Could be useful. So I am. These are all just settings at the minute. These are all just settings. So Cobra is it's very rich in this respect. Gives us the information we can do for setting up help. That'll be handy. And we get a standard in, a standard out, and standard error that we can. This is handy for testing. In reader, out reader, and error writer. So when we get round to writing tests for this code, which is going to be a while away, that may prove very handy indeed. Right then, so what I'm looking for is how it uses the use field. Lots of setters. Okay, that's how it works. I'm going to switch now and start searching for the string use. I want to see how it's using it. Unfortunately, we don't have an advanced search, so I can't do a. I can't use a case-sensitive search. So I'm just gonna have to get through this. So use line is interesting. So what I'm looking at here. This is a template. Golang's got built-in templating support in one of its standard libraries. And the use line is not the same variable that I'm setting. I'm setting the use property. Sorry, not variable property. So that looks like it's passed in from somewhere. So let's go. I mean, you can use command path $command. That is interesting. It looks like it does some calculation. So let's actually search for use line. Okay. So it's a function, tacks on whatever the parent's up to, which is fair enough, taps on our use, which we haven't changed, if we've defined flags but we haven't included the string flags in our text. It goes and tags on flags here for us. Lord knows if that's the right bloody place for it. Yeah. So this code's making policy decisions. I'm going to argue. But yeah, isn't that strange? It's not editing the string. So I do not know why this is getting truncated. It shouldn't be. So disable flags in useLine. True. Let's set that. Everything's reflowed. Let's do a build. Hasn't changed the usage line that's appearing. So let's see where it's adding this command. It's adding it in the usage template. Aha! This might distract Rob from his Mario Kart. Sorry, Mario 64. We can provide our own usage template. That's handy. So we can override the default usage template. Do we want to take on that burden? Let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens. So we grab the default one. Now, how do I set it? Rob says he's listening avidly. Well, don't forget to leave a like, Rob. That way I'll know you're definitely listening. Right, so let me just dump this here. See, it's not an exported symbol, so I can't set this. See, it's unexported. Can only set exported fields. So how do I set that? Set usage template. Right then, there we go. So I'm not sure why some settings are properties and some are method calls, function calls, you could argue. Can I actually do this? No, I've got to do it in the init function, haven't I? Where's init gone? Right. Root command set usage template. Set usage template, please. Thank you very much. We could actually provide our own function if we want, but I think the template's going to be enough. What have we got? Right then. So use line and available subcommands. Change it to angular brackets. Oh god, yes, that's going to make me happy. That is going to make me happy. So all I'm going to do is compile that with just those square brackets changed to angular brackets and see if it actually comes up. Build it and test it. Yes, I have angular brackets in my usage line, Rob. Woohoo! And I've not had to ditch Cobra to achieve it. That is progress. That is progress. Now the next question is, okay, so the formatting's off because all of this has been indented. I may be mistaken, but there was a time, I'm sure, when VS Code was fantastic at auto-indenting. I have to share this, I'm sorry. So Rob's just shared his approval of this breakthrough. So what we need to do is figure out why. I think it's this. It's the command path that's coming up rather than the use line. Right. So I'm going to change this to be the use line rather than command path. I have no idea why command path is just saying git. I think that looks broken to me. There we go. Get that. The formatting's all messed up. I'll sort that in a moment, but I've now got it saying what I want it to say. And I know it seems like a silly little thing. I know it does, but so what I'm doing now, I'll let you have that. I am now sorting out the formatting, and to do that I'm going to go back to Cobra itself and find that template again. Look at what it does. The copy and paste has completely ruined the formatting. And what I want to do, at least for now, is actually copy it. It's a here doc. It's a template doc. Please stop doing this. I want spaces rather than tabs. Examples are like that. Available commands get their own line. Flags get their own line. Global flags get their own line. Available commands needs indenting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Should it be 4 or 2? They've got 2. 2. One, 2. We'll go with 2 for now. Go with 2 there. So flags are not indented. And then we're going to change that down here. Use line. Or a white space in front of that. So what I'm doing here is I'm editing the template for the usage command so that the layout, there we go, that's better. So we've now got this indentation and these blank lines, this white space. White space is very important for comprehension. It's incredibly important for comprehension. You mash everything together and it's unreadable. So there we go. We now have still got that command there to sort out. We're making good progress. And because I've put command on the use line, I can delete it from there. It's not needed. So we do a build. Oh, the other thing I want to point out, when I'm hitting up arrow and then hitting return to see my changes, it actually is going away and compiling the code in the meantime. The Go compiler is getting pretty nippy these days. Right, so if you run it without anything else, it says the Gitflow extension provides all the commands you need to use the Gitflow branching model. It gives the usage and everything else. If I go back to the original output, we just say usage git hf command. So I am now going to modify the template. Sorry, let me go back. I'm going to modify this output to look like this output here. Because we're trying to make a drop-in replacement. No one in their right mind is parsing this. That's not my aim. What I want to do is make sure as people move across to this, there's no surprise at all. There's no feeling of surprise. That's what I'm trying to do. Because I want people to use the new code. So what do I need to change? So that's lowercase. Usage. There's no white space before it. We don't want this indented. We want this at the top. We know this is runnable, so we can get rid of these if statements. We just want the use line. And we can go like that. We don't care about the aliases here. We don't have any examples here. Would be probably a good idea to add them. But we are going to change this string to say available subcommands are. Right, and then it's indented 3. I'm going to stick to 2 because 3 is just weird. It lists the flags, it lists the global flags. I'm going to leave those in for now. I know they're new, but they may, or don't have any global flags at the minute, but we may end up with that at some point. Try subcommand help, no switch. For details. Right, let's compile that and run it. Right, so I've broken that. You'll not be surprised to hear. I've lost all my subcommands. So we're getting there, and we've still got these flags. But I've broken my subcommands. And it's going to be what I did all the way back up here. So let me undo all this. Sort it out in a moment. So there's this if here. If has subcommands. So let me get rid of this. And I want it to say available subcommands are. And then we go back down the bottom. I'm leaving the flags in for now because if nothing else, it might actually tell me about ways I've set up Cobra that I didn't intend to. So I think that's well worth setting. So try the use line, but we want help for more information, for details. And now if I go and run that, right. So we've still got this message at the top that's coming out. So Cobra clearly outputs a message outside of this usage template. Mixed feelings about that, and we'll track that down in a moment. Very mixed feelings. But we now have output that looks much closer, much closer to our old command. And we have the magical angular brackets rather than square brackets, so we're more accurate. And we've kept Cobra. So all these are good wins. So what I'm going to do now is actually commit that code. I think we should track that down though, first of all. So that is the short message. No, that's the long message, sorry. So I've got to find out where it's outputting the long message. And that's the help template. Okay. That might make this a bit hard to trace without actually putting breakpoints in the code. So we set all that. Let's disable suggestions. Yes, the help template. So it's actually outputting the help template when we don't actually run anything. So that must mean that we are init config. We don't have a config file. I'm going to leave that code alone for now. It's not hurting anything. But that must mean that by default it is calling the help command. Which begs the question, should this usage template be the help template? Begs the question. I've put it as the usage template because that's what Cobra expects. But is it actually, should this actually be the help template? Sorry, I'm after my terminal. I'm going to leave it like this for now. I'm going to live with it and move on. I'm mindful that it is already nearly 8:30. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. So we're almost halfway through the stream and I'm about to do my first code commit. Right then, so first of all, why is the git ignore showing up? Ah yes, ignore go get that, so git add dot git ignore right. Yes, git ignore files. Always end up tweaking those. And then we are going to add command root.go git commit -m new default help output now looks just like the original extension code output. There we go. We've done our first commit. Let's just push that up. Excuse me. All right. So where do we want to go from here? It would be nice if all the messages here that appear with the subcommands, if they all appeared. So I think I'm going to go through and do all those now. I'm literally going to copy them. I've been using a Mac all day at work rather than coding on Linux. So I keep getting my terminal copy and paste keys the wrong way around. For some reason, because this Linux laptop is a Windows laptop, so the Windows key is on the left of the Alt. But on a Mac, the Alt key is on the left of the Command button, which is their equivalent to the Windows button. And toggling between the two does get annoying. So I'm just literally going to go around and paste these short descriptions in everywhere. So that's init done. Let's grab feature. And every time you see that Control C hit there, that means I've got the key press wrong. Copy that. Let's go and find the feature command. Find its short message. Paste that in. I'm not pretending the extensions, the existing extensions, short messages are the best, and that we shouldn't improve on them in the future. But we're not here to do that tonight. Tonight we're trying to make our new code look like our old code. Manage your release branches. Hotfix is next. That's what's important. I want to actually get the pass-through working as well tonight. So I don't want to spend forever on this tonight. Get push, push. And where is push? Did we not generate that? Sure we generated that. Push, pull. Updates there. Upgrade is actually missing from the list of commands. We didn't generate push and pull. Ha! We missed some. Sort that in a moment. So let me grab an update. Fancy that. So that's update. And I'm going to make a change here. Where instead of master and develop branches, we're going to say production and integration branches. And upgrade needs something added by hand. So git hf upgrade help. Is that going to give me anything? No, it doesn't. Right, it doesn't give me any help whatsoever. So upgrade. We've left this there hoping we can do in place upgrades, but that's a nice to have. And whatever I could type tonight, upgrade your copy of the Gitflow extension to the latest version. And version shows version information. Ba-ba-bum. There we go. So if we do a quick compile, that window, and run it, there we go. So we've got the help command in there. We're going to do something about that in a moment. And the other thing to note is that the subcommands are sorted alphabetically, automatically. Whereas if we look at the original extension, they're actually sorted in terms of usefulness. Init, feature, release, hotfix, push, pull, update and version. That order is kind of guiding you a bit more. So that's something we need to look at. Go over here. But for the moment, have I missed anything? Probably want to suppress help. There was a way to do that in the template, but we'll fix that in a moment. But we've got information in all of them. Manage your feature branches, manage your hotfix branches. Right, so get status, get commit minus a minus m. Right, new get hff now has short descriptions of. Okay, while I'm just doing this, hello Ken, by the way, thank you for joining us. Ken's asked, sorry to go off on a slight tangent, but is there a PHP equivalent to Cobra? Do you know? It seems like a nicely nifty tool. Rob could probably answer that better than me. I have, and already has. I have one, but it's years old. I don't recommend it because the API I came up with it. Oh, I hate working with it, and I bloody invented it. I think most people these days, though, are using the Symfony console or a version of it, which kind of has all this built in. And I think it would be difficult to justify using anything else other than the Symfony console, unless you wanted absolute accuracy with support for long and short flags the Unix way. So yes, and Rob's just said everyone uses symphonies. I don't know if that answers your question, Kent. Right, what was I doing? Yes. So I'm getting every subcommand. So I get those committed. And now what I want to do is I want to go back to the template. Let's close all these down and go back to my root command. So available subcommands, range of commands. Right, I probably don't have the ability to sort these and control them. I would probably have to hard code everything in there. Okay, right. I'm just reading the comments. Awesome to see the comments tonight, by the way, everybody. Thank you so much. So Ken's just said that he's tied to Ye1 and he likes Unixy CLIs. Okay. Well, at some point I will revive my command line tools. Ye1, yeah, I haven't used it, I'm afraid. I don't know if later versions of Ye have introduced better CLI support. Ye1, if memory serves, isn't that really old? So I don't know. Haven't used it myself. Right. Is there a way I can sort this? Is there a way I can sort this? So let's pop up and see what it's using for... I just want to make sure it's definitely using the normal template stuff. Bytes, context, format, IO, OS, path, file, path, sort, and strings. Oh, Ken, you have my sympathies, sir. You have my sympathies. Right, I haven't seen the template imported, but that doesn't mean it's not being used. I thought you had to import a sub package for that. Oh dear. I am chuckling at chat. I really am. Right then. Bear with me. I'm just looking at how they're actually rendering the template at the minute. The last time I did any template work with Go, my memory is you actually have to import a package at the top. They clearly aren't. Excuse me. So it could be something else defined by Cobra that's doing the formatting. I'm just double checking. Could also be that my memory is really old. Oh dear. Oh dear. I've got to share that, Ken. I really have. Ah, I suspect you're going to win comments tonight. I really do. So for anyone who's listening rather than watching, Ken said, "I see your enterprise and raise you a classic enterprise." Oh dear. Right then. So I'm just scrolling through to see how we do the rendering. Usage template. We just return the string. So where's it called from? So of course what we could be seeing here is we could be seeing embedded Go in template strings that I'm not familiar with. Aha! Here we go, that's what I'm after. There's template command, that's what I thought. Enjoy walking the dogs, Ken. Now. let's jump to that and have a look. So it is Golang's templates. They've just wrapped it conveniently elsewhere in the code. That's cool. That's cool. Text/template, that's what we're after. So one of the things I'm demonstrating here, and one of the reasons why Golang should really be on your list of languages to look at, and I think this works. There we go. One of the reasons I think Golang should be on your list of things to look at is I'm taking Cobra apart in real time on the live stream to understand some of the things that I didn't pick up on from the documentation. Either I've not read the documentation well enough, or the documentation doesn't cover some of these aspects. And Golang is a very easy language to trace through. There's no magic anywhere at all. And right now I'm really, really appreciating that. It's making it, yes, I'm having to, because there isn't documentation telling me exactly what's going on, or if there is, I've missed it. I'm having to take the code apart to get what I want out of it, but I can. And the process of taking the code apart is very straightforward. There's no guesswork. All I've got to do is find the code I'm interested in and just unpick it, take it apart bit by bit. That is brilliant. That is something that makes Go a joy to program in, especially at the moment because I'm only dipping into it on evenings. I'm not using it in anger all the time during the day job at the minute. So I am very, very appreciative of Go for that. But what I need to do is go to here, the Golang docs, and find the Golang template. So what I'm looking to do is see if I can influence the order that these commands are printed in without me hard coding the strings. If I hard code the strings into the template, that's going to bite me in the arse at some point. Because if we go back to the shell script for a moment and look at its output, there's a command missing from this. This is the existing shell script where it's all hard coded. This is a string or a set of strings actually in the shell scripts, and it's missing a command. It's missing the upgrade command completely. So that is an example of why I don't want to do the same thing in Golang if I can avoid it. I want to control the order of the commands if possible. It might not be possible, but I don't want to actually hard code this string, because if I do that, mistakes will be made down the road. I hope that makes sense. Right then, Go's templating language. I haven't used this for a while. So actions, data evaluations are delimited by double handlebars, double mustaches if you like most templating languages. Oh, if you want a laugh, the challenge for any static block generator or any content that uses template languages that use braces as their delimiters for outputting content is try and embed in there Ansible files, YAML files for Ansible, which are full of templating of their own. That is a great test case to see if your static block generator can handle them well or not. Just as a laugh. And yeah, I found that out the hard way. So here's our list of actions. Ifs, range. Okay. Right. Okay, so the value, so you can do a range or action over an array, a slice, a map, or a channel. Nothing's output if the pipeline, that's the parameter to the range, is 0 length. That's fine. Otherwise, dot, and what they mean by dot, you see here it goes dot name padding. That dot is set to whatever the range is currently looking at. That's what they mean by that, I believe. I keep slouching, sorry. It's executed. If the value is a map and the keys are of basic type with a defined order, the elements will be visited in sorted key order. So what that means is, whatever .commands is producing, and we'll go hunt down that code in a minute, it's probably an array with numerical indices, and might not be, but it probably is, and therefore range is going to iterate over those in that particular order. If it's strings, we'll see what happens. So if we go back to Cobra and we go back to where we were in the command.go, and we know this is called commands. So we're looking for something called commands, and of course it has 117, 119 matches. But if we put brackets after the end, hopefully we can narrow it down. Right, commands. If enable command sorting, so there's a flag here, enable command sorting. Right. Where is that set? So we can control, well, we can disable the sorting. Whether I can get the commands loaded up in the order I want is a second problem, but we can disable the auto sorting. But what we've got to do is track down enable command sorting. Enable command sorting. And it's not elsewhere in this file. So this is where a repository search would, which used to be up here. Where's they moved the bloody search to? That's the readme. Okay, I am not sure who decided that was a good idea. So the search used to be in this lovely empty space at the top. You used to be able to type a search. It's now in the hamburger menu. It's now at the bottom of the hamburger menu. I want to enable command sorting, which means now it's really squashed up. Yeah, that's an interesting UI decision. So we can set enable command sorting to false in Cobra itself. Looks like there's some other settings in here. Let's go have a spot. Mousetrap help text. Huh. So Rob has just said, if I had a wider screen, it would be visible. This is a 1080p screen. So that should be more than wide enough. Anyway. Rob says breakpoints for responsive websites are never in the right place in my view. It's difficult. It is difficult. That's why there's been a movement these days to actually design sites that auto-flow without needing breakpoints. I'm not a front-end person. You do not want me anywhere near front-end code. Not my skill set at all. Oh, cool. So, digging around in Cobra itself, we can add our own template functions. So we can extend the actions available inside the templates, inside the usage template, inside the help template. That's really cool. There's global initializers. That's cool. We can ignore that. Oh, excuse me. So there's some unused code that shouldn't be there. That's the template command, which we can't get at directly. And right, enable prefix matching allows to set automatic prefix matching. Automatic prefix function can be a dangerous thing. Okay, and we can enable command sorting. We can set to false. How can we do that? Do we see? You'd have thought that, I mean, first of all, it looks like this is the equivalent of a global variable in a package. So you'd have thought this would have been a switch you would pass in via some configuration. You wouldn't really expect this to be a package variable that's exported. That's a shame, but we can certainly do something about it. Cobra.enable, there we go, you see, enable command sorting equals false. What does that produce? Let's have a look. This still might not give us what we want. It's closer. Feature hotfix in X. Is it closer? Feels like it's closer. Yes, because the help command's not in the middle. So the next question is can I control the order that they're added? Do I get that ability? You see, they're being added by these init commands. Files in packages can define their own init commands, and then they are executed, and they appear to be executed in the order of the file names. Let's go and check that. Golang package init order. And the Golang docs are not even on the first page. There's effective Go. Let's have a look. Init 156. Initialization. That's telling me off using semicolons. Fair enough. These are initializations that you can embed elsewhere. So I know the table of contents had exactly what I'm looking for, but I like looking through like this to see what else I can see as I'm going along. Let's just jump into that. So, constants, variables, the init function. There we are, so I read. So, So init's called after all the variable declarations have completed, and variables, global variables are only, well, globals or variables within a scope are only evaluated after all the packages have been imported and initialized. And of course it doesn't document order whatsoever. Not there anyway. So that's no good. So I'm now going to jump into issues. Git issues are a great way to find out about decisions that have been made. So April last year, it looks like there was changes made. So this is packages depending on each other. I am skimming a lot of discussion. They're focusing on package import order rather than the order that init functions run. But again, this is about package initialization. So I'm not sure. Right. So it doesn't look like it's part of the spec. Although there's plenty of sites making statements about it. Let's have a look at one of these. They are called in lexical file name order, alphabetical order. So I'm not saying this particular website I'm looking at is wrong. I mean, that's certainly the behavior we're seeing. What I'm interested in is whether or not that behavior is guaranteed. Because if it's not in the Golang spec, so let's look for the Golang spec. Have a read about that. Let's see what we can find. Program initialization and execution. It's going to be in here. 0 values, package initialization. So the overall process I'm doing here is I've run an experiment and it shows me some promising behavior, but I'm not certain that the behavior I'm seeing I can rely on. Just because it works with this version of the compiler doesn't mean to say it will work forever. So what I'm looking to do is eliminate guesswork and track down what's going on. You see, this spec here, if the spec doesn't actually say what order the init functions are executed in, that is no good. I can do it for now, but it may break in the future. Okay, that's encouraging. That line right there is doing a lot of heavy lifting, but it says, to ensure reproducible initialization behavior, build systems are encouraged to present multiple files belonging to the same package in lexical file name order to a compiler. It's not an outright guarantee of this behavior, I would argue. But if they were to change the order that init functions were called, they would have to change this line in the spec. So it's kind of it's kind of implicit. It's kind of a side effect, I would say, of what this is saying. But that does mean, if we go back to my code, if I want these commands to output their order in a certain way, I've got to change the file names, which is going to look a bit weird. Frankly, that's going to look a bit weird with the change with the name of file names, because I'll have to do something like this. So let me go back to my terminal. What order do I want? Init, then feature, and all the feature subcommands also need to be renamed because it's important. Actually, I don't need to. If I rely on case sensitivity, I don't need to rename them. The parent commands have to execute before the subcommands do. Otherwise, if we look at feature cancel, for example, it defines a variable, which is the Cobra command for cancel, but its parent is feature. And then in init, it relies on feature command itself already being initialized in order for us to add the subcommand to it. So if we don't get the order right, VS Code thinks shift got stuck down for some reason. That was weird. If we don't get the order of the files right on disk, then what will happen, releases next, what will happen is the code will not initialize correctly. That would be annoying. Rename D, and then we've got push and pull are missing, so that's E and F. Update is G. I need to generate those two commands. I must do that in a minute. H is upgrade, and we're going with rename. Z for version. We always want the Z version last. So if I build that, look at that. We have everything in the order we want now. Okay. So slowly but surely we are hacking around the edges of Cobra without changing Cobra's own code to get it precisely the output that we're after. Is it worth the time? Is it worth the effort? That is a good question. That is certainly a good question. Let's add command in. Just all right. Git HF now displays the list of subcommands in the same order that the original extension code did. Right then, that's good. Got a bit of a cold thanks to the bit of a cough thanks to the head cold. Right. Okay, so I need to add these new subcommands in. And we did this last week, so hopefully that's in my history. Yes, it is. Cobra add pull. Do you mean Cobra's not found? One moment. Ba-ba-bum. find $home minus name Cobra. Right then. Slash $path slash user. Right. $home go bin Cobra. Go bin. Right. Let's have to echo that. I should have done that. Path. Right. Which Cobra? We now have Cobra. We still don't have Cobra in the path. Why not? That doesn't make sense. Aha. That's better. Right. Cobra add pull. Cobra add push. Let's get these edited and get them assigned. ED ENF E and F. I need to check which order they should be in. Push then pull. I think I've got them the other way around. Let's have a look. Yes, I've got the other way around. Rename. Now we're actually lucky here. Golang as a language doesn't force us to make our file names match the contents of our files. If you think in PHP, for example, with auto loading, the file names have got to match the name. The classes have got to have the same file names. Otherwise, the autoloader doesn't load things correctly. So we're a bit lucky that Golang doesn't impose that requirement. I say lucky. The word is the word here is grateful. The word is grateful. I need that space, don't I, from last week. Right, so that's there, and now I just need to grab their short strings. And I got my copy shortcut wrong again. Ba-ba-bum. So there we go. Push the changes. If we go over here, we're going to pull the changes. I've got my shortcut right this time. These are actually the short descriptions. I've edited the wrong one there. Let's put that right. It's been a hectic day. Let's do this. Get that right. I know the long one's wrong for now. It's okay. We're not doing that in a minute. Let's build this and see what we've got. There we go. So now we have our push and pull commands, which, no, that's right. I was thrown a bit because it looked like push and pull had the same thing, the same output, but they don't. It's pull and update have the same. So let me just change the text for pull, because instead of using master and develop, we're using production and integration at the minute. I may regret those changes. I mean, ideally, it should actually look. Ideally, we want to get to the point where we actually can plug in the actual branch names here. That would be nice in the future. It's possible we're initializing these too early at the minute, and therefore that's just not possible. But there we go. We now have all our commands in the right order. Way hey. That's a nice win. I'm just reading it to make sure all the text matches. I've not done anything silly there. Cool. That's really good. So let's get that added, and let's get that added. Added skeletons for git hf push and git hf pull. There we go. Getting there. We're getting there. So we've got our commands outputting now in the order we want. We've got rid of our square brackets. We've got our nice angular brackets because we're old, and we like the old. We like that from the old days. We think that's an important accuracy detail. We've got these extra flags here at the minute, but we'll sort those out in a moment. What we now need to do is go through these commands and make them call out to the shell scripts. So let's get started on that. And just to let everyone know, we've now been live streaming for just short of 2 hours. We're a couple of minutes short of 2 hours. So the first thing we need to do is we've already done it. We've disabled flags in use line. So that means all the parameters should get copied across, or the arguments on the command line should get copied across. So we've got our run command here, and it says that init has been called. Now, what I want to do I really want this in line? I suppose for now it won't hurt. So what we can do is, first of all, I want to see what we've got. I want to see what's in args, which I think I can do with that. Nope, it is telling me I can't. Why not? Print line call as possible formatting. So GoVet's complaining that I've put formatting in a print line command. And there's no IDs on the things that GoVet complains about, which makes them a bit of a pain to look up. One of the nice things about JavaScript linters, camera's over there, TSLint and to a lesser extent ESLint, because I think TSLint's much nicer to use, is they will often have IDs in the errors that are coming up, so you can actually track down documentation and see what it means. With this, we're going to have to go and do some digging. Print line call has possible formatting directive. Let's have a look. And Google has very quickly gone, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the homepage results are not great. About GoVet itself, does it have a homepage? It does. So it's heuristics. So Ken has just said he thinks TSLint is now deprecated in favour of ESLint. Yes, it is. At the same time, if you've tried to move from TSLint to ESLint, if you're like me, you've probably ended up staying with TSLint for now. I tried it 2 months ago. It was not a pleasant experience. I found that it wasn't a one-to-one mapping from TSLint to my ESLint rules. Some of the rules I relied on didn't seem to exist in ESLint, and it just felt that the TypeScript support in ESLint, it just didn't feel ready. Didn't feel ready at all. So for now, I mean, I also, if memory serves, ESLint didn't even support TypeScript 3.9. I tried it just as 3.9 came out. And I seem to remember ESLint didn't support the latest language structure. I don't know if they've caught up now with TypeScript 4. I don't know. Aha! This is useful. So at least we can find out what these rules are. So let's go do that. Consistency of printf format strings and arguments. So all that at the top is just saying what it checks, and we can tell it other things. So consistency is good, but it doesn't tell us what the bloody check is. One of the nice things about TSLint is it often will tell you how to resolve a problem. Not all the time by any means, but it often will. So why can't I do that? Why are you complaining? Of course, there's probably seasoned Go programmers looking at this and going, why are you having struggles with this? They're probably looking at this and it's immediately obvious to them. But what I've done there looks perfectly. Is it possible printline doesn't support? I'm wondering if printline doesn't support format strings. No, there's nothing saying it doesn't. Aha. Let's have a look. Right. So it looks like instead of print line we should be using printf, and we should be sticking a /n on the end. Yeah, solved it. Right. So it looks like what it's actually saying is that printline doesn't support printf. Printline isn't a printf alternative, is what it's saying. There we go. Right, so let's run this. What have we got? So what I need to do is actually, so if I do -a, for example, unknown shorthand flag. So even though we've told it to disable flags, it's still doing it. So we've probably got to disable flags in inline use. We've probably got to add to the init command as well. So let's get that done. Oh, VS Code, stop reformatting things. Let's run that now. Unknown shorthand flag A and -a. But I've disabled the flags. Hang on, there's another disable I need to use, isn't it? Let's go back to Cobra. Actually, we'll use completion for this. Disable flag parsing. True, that's the one I actually want. I'm using the wrong one. So I'm using disable flags in use line to stop the templates doing printing things out, which disable flag parsing is actually what I actually want to add. So let's make sure that's in the root as well. Sorry, let's go to the terminal. Let's build it. There we go, and we've got -a as a parameter. Cool. So what we're going to do here is we're now actually going to use Scriptish for the first time. Stop doing that. And in order to remind me, see, I needed this for the third terminal. Scriptish. Do I have examples? I do have examples. There we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing example code that already uses Scriptish just to act as a refresher of how I import it and how I use it, which is cool. So what we are going to do is in here we are going to have a Scriptish.new pipeline. Scriptish.new pipeline. And what we are going to do in here, Scriptish. I don't know why auto-completion is not working on these packages at the minute. That suggests I've broken something. It should be Scriptish.exec. One moment. So I'm looking through the Scriptish source code. Oh, it's got a great README. In fact, let's do that. Let's pull up the README. So this is why you document things. What you're seeing here, I wrote Scriptish in October and November last year. Which is 11 months ago, as GitHub is quite happily reminding me. And I haven't used it much since then. So even though this was quite an intense 2 to 4 weeks while I was building this, because I haven't used it in anger much since, all that knowledge has kind of gone. I've forgotten it. But thankfully, I made the effort of actually documenting the damn thing, which is really good. Exec, here we go. Which means I can actually go and see how to use it. Wrong window, that window. Scriptish. So Scriptish.exec pipeline. So we'll just do it first. Scriptish.exec. It takes a list of arguments. So we want git, hf, init, and then I want to turn the array to a set of strings. And this might be where Scriptish's API could be better. Auto-completion's caught up. It was just VS Code being a bit behind. So how do I turn an array of strings? Hopefully I can just use the spread operator. Yay for spread operators. Nope, it's saying I can't. One moment. They probably call it the rest operator here, don't they? Golang rest operator. Periodic functions. Goes on the other side. That's kind of neat. And why are you complaining? Unexpected underline, comma, or close. What are you complaining about there? That should be fine. Go back to my example. Right. I am going to change that to an exec pipeline. I don't need to create the temporary variable, and I don't care about the output. and that writes everything into, so exec puts stuff in the branch. Isn't quite what I want there. I may actually have to extend scriptish here to do what I want. I'll have to see. What's happening? The exec command in scriptish, it runs an operating system command, but you can't see the results because they're going to standard out. They're going into this pipeline standard out and standard error, which isn't what I want. So I either have to extend scriptish to give me the ability to run a command that the users can see, or I do this the old-fashioned way and use Go's command package, which I think is where I'm going to do it today. I think scriptish can't do what I want. Sources for exec. So we use Os Exec. That's cool. Right then, so we just import Os Exec, set the command up, wait for it to finish. That's easy enough. Right then, so change of plans. For today, goodbye scriptish, and let's use built-in Os Exec. So what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing existing code. So command equals exec dot command. Let's have a quick look at Os Exec. There's probably a way to do this in one line. Let's have a look. Plenty of examples. So you create the command. That just shows how to capture it. Let's look at command.run. Run runs it and waits for it to complete. Okay, so we can just do that. So exec command git hf init, and then we do the args, unpack those. And then what we want to do with command is equals command.run. So that should run our command. And what comes back is an error. And then we want to, we don't return an error, so I guess we want to do, one moment. Once again, I'm going to go through the scriptures code because I'm pretty sure we have an exit, sync, exit. Here we go. We'll make sure we exit the process. That's just from OS. OS. I wish it didn't auto trim like that. os.exit dot, just an error. So if I want its right, Okay, right, I'm not just going to run. I want its exit status code. Is what I want. We're going to get it working here, and then we're going to move this into a piece of reusable code. But I want this working here first. So let's go back to my example code for exec. Let's do equals command dot start. What are you complaining about? Cannot use exec command as type. It's command dot wait. Import a command. Oh, right. It's duplicate symbols is the problem. So so child proc. It's duplicate symbols is what this is actually complaining about. Child proc dot wait. And now you are complaining. So one string and then the rest have to be that. Alright, I'll sort that in a moment. So we're going to do a wait. Again, we can get another error. So if we fail to start, if os.exit, I believe 127 is the traditional code. Not equals nil, we do that, and then we wait for it to complete, and we do os.exit. We don't care about that as such. Right, we run wait, we get start, command pipe. So I'm after this status, the exit status. That's what I'm after, because we're going to return that. Variables, command, path, args, env, directory, standard in, standard out, standard error, extra files, the underlying process once started, and process state is what I'm after. Because we're just going to do os.access child proc dot process state dot exit code. There we go. That's what we want. So there's some work to do on actually getting that to compile. It's a function. Okay, you're a function. Right. So I've just got to do this. Right, so child args equals hf init. Do a spread operator there, I believe. You're not going to let me. Why not? Well, for a start, I'm not doing an initializer, so I should have complained about that. But you're not letting me do that because, of course, I have. One moment. You can tell I've been doing too much JavaScript recently. Right. Right, there's probably a one-liner to do this, but I'm going to do it this way. I need to make it string, and I'm going to be adding 2 to it. Then args plus 2, and then I equals 0. Right, so child args 0 equals hf, child args 1 equals init, islen args I plus plus. I'm just going to copy it all over. I don't know why I indented that. Right, what are you unhappy about that? Next string, then args. Right. So the errors in the IDE only show in VS Code only show it when I save. Got to remember that. Child args I plus 2 equals args I. There we go. We do git, and then we do child args. So what I'm used to with JavaScript and its spread operator is I can expand variables, etc. anywhere on the line. Golang, with its variadic support, isn't quite as flexible by the looks of it, but again, there could be a one-line syntax that I'm currently not aware of. So right, so if we call the shell script, exit status code. Right, cool. So in theory, we now have init working. Let's go build it. Wrong window. We're going to do that window. But we're not going to actually run it from here. Go build dot. And then I'm going to create a test folder. cd tmp, make temporary folder, go into it. So what I'm going to do is I want to test this code and see how well it works. So double dot slash gitflow, all the gitflows, init -a, and it should call the shell script, and that should be interesting to see what happens. Right then, so we don't get any output. Let me do a git init in here. Right. Just do that. So there's no output we can see, so I don't know what's happened there. Let's run it again. So there's no status output at the minute. Yes, we could run this under a debugger. We're not doing that at the minute. Format.printf init subcommand called /n/n. Right, so we're going to do that so we can see what's going on. Right, so it's definitely being called. And it is definitely calling out. It's definitely doing this exec. But at the minute, the output is not coming up on the screen. So maybe I've actually, I mean, I was expecting it to, but I was expecting it to be automatically attached to my processor standard out and standard error. It may be that's not the case. So we're going to have a look at this. And what I want to do is have a look at child args. First of all, I want to make sure that that is doing what I expect. So it just says H is right. Those are the two parameters. So we're good there. Command is expecting strings. Should be using lookpath to resolve it. That's good. Right. So what we need to do now is what I'm trying to do now is see how we see inside it to see what's going on. We know that Os Exec's not being called here. Not too worried about those. Let's go back to this. If they're null, it connects them to the null device. Not to standard out and standard error like I expected. That's on me. So when we create our command, childproc dot standard out, standard in equals os dot standard in, standard int, sure it's just standard in, childproc dot standard out equals os dot. So I thought these would be set by default to be the processors. It would just inherit them, which is kind of normal, but it's not the case. So it's just a little bit of initialization we've got to do. Well, hey, there we go. We now have pass-through. And we're just checking. Right, so the status code doesn't get HF in it, doesn't give us a status code I can use, so I can't test that here, but we have pass-through. We have it working. That is awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my code. Let's have a look at what we've done. Okay. Minus m, so new, get HF in there, now calls out to the original shell script. Code. That is awesome. So I've committed that, and now I'm going to refactor it. So I've committed the code before refactoring. That's very deliberate. And now what I want to do is in here, so this is package main. I'm just trying to think where I'm going to put these helpers. Package helpers. This is another reason people dump lots of stuff in the same place in Go, rather than create nested structures like we used to in other languages. And this is going to be the command that calls out to the old code. So call shellxt .go. Go, not GP, rename. There we go, that's better. We want the Gitflow license, we want the BSD license. This is package helpers. And we've got a function here. Func core shell ext. And what we want here, let's get back to there, leave that alone for the moment. We want the command. Right. So I'm going to take two arrays here. Yes, 2 arrays. Command as a string array and args as a string array. And then we're going to grab this code. And we're going to refactor it into here. So the reason I'm saying that we want an array for command is so we can pass subcommands in, like feature push, feature pull, feature start, feature finish. So we want len args plus len command, what we want. And you are unhappy because you are missing function body. Oh, what stupid thing have I done now? My Go is a bit rusty right now. That's for sure. Is it complaining about that being on that line? Yes, it was. So it needs a comment. Right. Core shell ext calls one of the subcommands. Calls the given original Gitflow extension code, shell code. Right, now are you unhappy? Comment should be of the form core shell ext, which is exactly what it is. I'm currently not sure why the lint is unhappy with what I've just typed. I am going to worry about that in a moment. So we need to add 1 here, and then we want to go len command plus 1 equals command, and then I equals 0. We can probably use range here. How do we push onto a string array? Golang push to array. Or appending to a slice. This will do. Or we can just append to it. Right, so we can do better than this. So we can do something there. It assigns it, so child args equals append. Child args, call it x for the minute. Don't need that. Just quickly look at range. Let's load that up. There we go. For index x range of command, we can do append, and then we can do that, comma x equals range of args, child args equals append child args x. X is not a great name, and you are unhappy. Why? Oh, that's good. The scope's only there. That's brilliant. And then we are going to return string. All done. Oh no, we're actually going to call out. We need to return that. We do not need to return that, but we could return an integer. We could return the status code. Right, so that's that. We now have what we're going to call. So from there, we actually do the call. And then we return childproc dot process state. What was it called? Yeah, it's called process state. Right. Import Os Exec. That's what's missing. That'll help with the type hinting. .exit code. Right then. It's a typo. That's why it's complaining. Right. And returns the exit status code from the shell script. There we go. So what I've done is I've refactored this now into a piece of reusable code so that we can start using it everywhere else. That's what I've done. Although I started over here with a for loop, because it does work, in the refactored code I've switched to using the range command and using append, which is appending to my child args. Now because child args is already predefined in size, that should be perfectly fine. It shouldn't force a resizing of child args, if I've got this sum right, which I'm pretty sure I have. So that's all good. Right then, so let's just update these comments. Right then, so create the args, pass it to get, build the command, make the call to git. We wait for it and then we return that back. So now what we will do, I've just got to figure out how to import this code into the script. And it might be, we do it like this. I can't remember whether you can actually do relative imports or not. My memory is no. Do I have any examples in here I can use? Of course, everything's in the one folder to ignore that issue. And I import it directly. So I think we do it this way. We're about to find out. Got our helper. So what we would do here is we would do I would do status code helpers dot core shell ext ext, and I'm going to pass in init and the args. So that it becomes this. So we call out, get the status code, and you are not happy. So it's actually gone and tried to download from Git. Right, so I've got to look at how we can do a local import to get this code working. I would love for it to be just as easy as that. Local import in non-local package. Okay, let's have a quick read of that. What does that mean? Let's have a look at this site. Import aliases, package name versus package imports. Dot imports. I don't want to use a dot import. Relative imports. There we go. This is what I want. Relative imports aren't allowed in your workspace. They're allowed everywhere else. So how do we get around it? Excuse me a moment. Gentlemen, why did you do this design? Every other language allows local imports. Right. That is unhelpful at best. That is very unhelpful. Relative imports aren't allowed in your workspace. They're allowed anywhere outside of this. So okay, so what is my go path first of all? Right, so I'm outside of that. Why can't I do that? That doesn't match what he said. In your workspace. Ha! Right, so we're not going to have any luck there. So let's have a look on Stack Overflow. Aha, so what we can do, according to this, if we do Gitflow /package/helpers, is not in Go root, we now get a different error. So attempt 1 to work around this and get something working. Runs into this. Which of course people say is a bad idea. We can use vendoring. You can use your local package under vendor and import it with a shorter path. Oh. Bear in mind vendoring was a pain in the arse the other day. Imports are relative to your Go path and Go root environment variables. Okay. So people avoid sub-packages as a result. And they have to import the full path. Right. that's Gitflow. Gitflow says package / helpers. There are times I lose the will to live with this. I really do. Organizing code is a really, really good idea. Yet you're not going to let me do it. So it is trying to open 3 git flows, but I've only got 2 there. But that's worked without an error. Right, so I need to, I can't, instead of doing this inline, I need to do something like, surely I can do that inline. Unexpected comma, expecting type. You can tell I've been doing far too much JavaScript where I can just do syntax like this all day long. Ah dear. Right, so command. Right, so git args make string 1 git args 0 equals init. Let me just pass the git args in this way. Right, so now we've moved on, we've got another undefined child proc. That's because what we want to do is call helpers dot core shell extension. Oh, it's just the status code, I've already called it. Right, there we go. Fingers crossed that'll compile, that will run. Let's go run it. There we go. We now have reusable helper. Yay! Slower going than I would like, that's for sure. Excuse me. My Go is rusty, and I have definitely been spoiled by TypeScript in particular, where we just create things on the fly a lot. But we got it working. And I can take out that message there, say it's called. Let's get this code committed. Add package commit -n new helper method, helper function, not a method, to call the old shell script code. And then we do a git commit -a-m refactor the init command now calls the helper code. There we go. Now the good news is now we've got this working, we can grab this and we can just dive into all the other commands and get them implemented very, very quickly. So that's push. This one's pull. And if we're going to feature cancel, this wants to be a 2, so that needs to be feature get args 1 equals. Now as an argument that things like feature cancel etc, what we should have done, instead of defining them as subcommands now, we should have just left feature on its own so that it saw cancel as a parameter to it. Then we wouldn't have to do this level of work right now. There's an argument for that. There's a different way to do this. And this is checkout. Here we feature diff. And then we've got feature finish. And we've got feature help. I should do that. Feature list. Got feature pull. Feature push. Feature rebase. Next. So if you're simply listening and you're not actually watching what I'm doing at the minute is I'm copying and pasting a code needed to call out to my helpers package, and I'm just going through all the subcommands we defined last Monday, and I'm putting in the code needed for every subcommand to call out to the shell script. That's what I'm doing. This will be a single git commit when I'm done. You could arguably each of these should be committed individually. It's kind of just padding your stats. I mean, there's arguments both ways. There's definitely arguments both ways. Atomic commits and all that. But I'm going to leave upgrade alone because it can't do anything useful. The upgrade command. So this is hotfix cancel. So you can see just how much work we've got to actually make all these commands do something useful other than call the shell script. Got, the next 24 weeks, I've certainly got our work cut out for us. That's for sure. And did I change that to finish? I did not. Right. Hotfix list is this one. Yeah, we've certainly got to get all this done by in the 30 sessions, which is Easter, that we've set. It's certainly challenging. There's a lot of code, a lot of functionality in the Gitflow extension. A lot of functionality. That is for sure. Hotfix push. And then we're into releases. Release stuff. So this is release cancel. Now, there may be a way to write something clever to actually, let me save that, to actually reduce this amount of effort I'm doing here. Maybe there's a way to knock up a tool, because Go was one of the pioneers of self-editing code, as it were, writing tools to edit the code. Okay, so I'm just going to put this message from Ken on the screen while I burn through this. So it's not. So I don't. Atomic Git commits for me don't have to have just a single file in. They need to the idea behind atomic commits is so you can use git bisect ultimately to actually find out where you introduced a bug in your in code. I have to be honest, I've been using Git in anger for how long? I want to say 2010, but I'm not sure when I introduced it to the firm I was working at. Certainly using it all the time by 2011. I'm going to leave version alone. Root doesn't do anything. And I can't remember the last time I used git bisect in anger. I really can't. So do a build. We go over to here. Right, so we should now be able to do feature list. That didn't work. Well, it did. Okay, so that's interesting. So the existing extension, although there's a list command defined, doesn't actually support it. This is the old output. At least I think it's the old output. That's just called feature on its own, called no help. So if we do update, right, so what I'm trying to do here is determine whether or not things are being called properly. I'm pretty sure I did update. Feature start. Right, so now I'm testing this on the command line. I'm not 100% certain things are happening what I want to happen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hack my githf command and make it output its args. Echo $. It is being called a feature start. So we are definitely passing the subcommands in, but not in a way that the Gitflow shell extension actually recognizes. Now why is that? So what I'm going to do now, quote, I am to tell me the individual parameters that have been passed in. That's a bit weird. Okay, so what's happening here? I've told the shell script to output all the command line parameters in the order, but also tell me which what's been set. Which arguments have been set, and arguments 1 and 2 are empty. But if I do githf feature start, we can see here that feature and start are set to parameter 1 is set to feature and parameter 2 is set to start. So the way we're calling out at the minute is causing some interesting behaviors. Now, why is it doing that? I'm not getting the behavior I want. I'm going to assume I've screwed up in my helper method. Seems a reasonable assumption. Close to the right. Let's get my helper up. I'm going to assume that I've done something wrong when I've built the child args up. So let's dump that out. so we can see it. See what's going on. It is actually possible to run run stuff under the run Go commands under Visual Studio Code with a single step debugger, and it is quite actually neat. Okay, that's interesting. Some empty parameters being passed in. Some empty parameters being passed in. Now, where are they coming from? Let's track that down. Let's track that down. So that's fine. It is possible that I don't need the assignment. I'm being silly. Nope. I do need the assignment. But why is append? So what I'm wondering here is why is what this the problems in this range and append. That is clear. It's clear that that is the problem. My Go is a little rusty. I'm doing something silly here. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this out as it runs, so we can see what's going on. As soon as this is done, we're done for the night. So I really would like to get this finished. Child args. It's already showing a blank there, you see. So what's this? Almost as if. It's almost as if I'm just going to do append everywhere, and that should sort it. It's almost as if the mixing append and direct assignment is triggering some behavior that I'm not on top of. Way. Okay. Append is not appending to, so the slice isn't empty. I've made the slice. This append is, there's definitely something, append's not appending to the end. Oh, sorry. It is not appending to where I want it to. Golang append to slice. So I have clearly made a mistake here. Maybe the thing to do is to avoid making it. Maybe we let Golang worry about that and compile it that way, because that's what this example code says to do. Let's do that. Haha, success. Success. So if we create the slice, and allocate the memory for it ourselves, it must be populated with, I think what's happening is it's populated with empty values, and therefore append is adding to the end of the whole damn thing. Instead of the pointer being set to the pointer where append is writing to being starting off at 0, it's already got content. And that's the mistake I made. That would make perfect sense. So it's the shell script that's echoing. Let me just edit my script. Take that out. So now I do that. Missing argument, name. Perfect. Right. So what we've got, let's change. Yeah. So what we've just achieved and just debugged is, unless there's any mistakes I've made while I was embedding the code in each of our subcommands, all of our subcommands now call out to the shell script, which is what I wanted to achieve tonight. It has taken me, just looking at the time, it's taken me about 40 minutes longer than I'd hoped. That's on me. My Go is rusty, as you can see. There's no sugarcoating that. My Go is rusty. And I've just closed VS Code, which I didn't mean to do. It's late, so let's get this code committed, and we're going to be calling it a day there. So we're going to do this in 2 commits because the package, this is wrong. This is a fix. The helper needs fixing. Fix call shell ext. No need to pre-allocate the arg slice. There we go. And then commit -a -m new all of our Golang commands now call out to the original shell script code. There we go. We push that up. There we go. Right. So it's gone a little longer than I'd hoped for tonight. No two ways about that. This is one of the things about what am I trying to say here? When you're shifting between languages on a regular basis, you get to keep all these things in your head. When you're dipping into a language infrequently, there's a lot of extra reading has to go around to refresh yourself of the details between each language. As you can tell from the style of code I've been writing tonight, I mostly these days think and write in TypeScript. And PHP as well, it has to be said. But TypeScript in particular has suited me so well. I use it a lot for all my stuff. So going back to Golang is definitely a bit of a refresher for me, but we'll pick up the pace as we go along. And it's not unusual to see, if you're working on any large system, you tend to have to write in multiple languages. And you'll normally have, most projects have 1 or 2 primary languages, and then you'll dip into the others. And when you dip into the others, you do see performance and progress take a hit. And velocity is the word I was looking for. You see velocity take a hit because it's not right there at the forefront of your head. It's something that you've got to do and get back into the spirit of things, which hopefully we'll do over the coming weeks. Right then, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's watched tonight. Thank you if you're watching this on catch up. It's been a very productive evening for me. I'm very pleased to have achieved all the goals we've set. And I'm aiming now for next week. We're going to start implementing some of these commands in Golang. And that means next week we're going to start to think about our architecture. How we're actually going to wrap Git calls to Git and present that to the rest of our code. And that's what we'll probably be doing next week. If you are watching this on catch up, usual thing, please leave a like. Please leave a comment. I'd love to know who you are, where you're. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next Monday.